Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poems of Emily Dickinson contained in the Johnson edition. We turn now to poem 170, Portraits Are to Daily Faces. I find it fascinating that Emily will several times in her poetry use art to critique art. In this case, we're talking about poetry, and it's possible even that we could be referencing the very idea of, the new photography or daguerreotypes that were happening right at that time. We, of course, only have one image, actually, of Emily, and a whole lot's been said about that. Now, in some ways, we're back to poem 106 and the parting west. Here we'll have the evening west, so we'll be drawing on some comments from earlier lectures there. Our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net. Down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've already been introduced to a set of introductory comments as well as the preceding 169 poems as we've worked now up through poem 169 in Enoch's box. The poem that we just finished with. Now, as we turn to poem 170, let's remind ourselves about portraits and the way in which portraits will capture or maybe not capture. I mean, some of you guys who are always taking photographs and self-images are able to say, you know, I look different once I start playing around with filters and the like and all of that. One of the arguments of this poem is that we really have to look at a good picture or a good portrait as being more representative possibly of what is going on in the inner self than the appearance specifically of the individual. And you've all seen a great picture. You know, what is it when you look at somebody and go, that's a great picture of them? What is it that captures that? Let's enjoy what Emily has to say. By the way, portraits gets used one and only one time in all of her poetry, and it's here. Portraits are to daily faces as an evening west, to a fine pedantic sunshine in a satin vest. Now, I love that we can begin by going back to poem 106 that we've already covered. The daisy follows soft the sun, and when his golden walk is done, sits shyly at his feet. He, waking, finds the flower there. Wherefore, marauder, art thou here? Because Sir Love is sweet. We are the flower, thou the sun. Forgive us if his days decline. We nearer steal to thee, enamored of the parting west, the peace, the flight, the amorous night's possibility. I love this idea that portraits are to daily faces as an evening west. In other words, we almost might think of it as a residual of a kind, we might say, right? And it's an interesting observation because the face changes over time as the sky changes over time. Notice, to a fine pedantic sunshine in a satin vest. As the sun starts going down, there's remnants of the sun, there's remnants of the imagery of the sun, but there's something lost. What exactly is it that Emily's saying about a portrait here? I think her argument, and in my Emily group I'll credit with this observation, that one moment of us captured, does it define us as a whole? And I think Emily would agree with that view. I think Emily would say, yeah, that's a pretty good interpretation of what I'm trying to say there. At 2b, well, I love the word picture of the evening west, especially as it draws from poem 106. At 3a, do you guys remember in our conversations, talks with Walt as we call them, our readings, our studies, through all the poems of Leaves of Grass, the Deathbed Edition? You remember in in Song of Myself 48, when he says, why should I wish to see God better than this day? I see something of God each hour of the 24 in my own face, in the glass, and in the face of men and women I see God. I think that Emily would concur with a view like that. Finally, at 3b, as we try to own a poem like this, how about yourself? What's your favorite picture of yourself, if you have one? Many of us are, of course, pretty critical of images of ourselves. And what is it that makes that image so compelling? Or, how about this? What is your favorite image or picture of your pal? And what is it about that image that captures them in some way? However, Emily would point out, it doesn't capture everything. In the same way that these poems can't capture everything about Emily, huh? Thank you.